Good morning, everyone. Okay, so let's see. Today, I want to talk with you guys a little bit about how the last couple of weeks have gone with um, doing skipping a meal, first of all, and seeing how you guys are doing with that. And then also, I want to talk about specific amino acids and what they do in the body. What is happening? Um, Especially when we're talking about working on health, how to time that stuff, and also the benefits for like brain health as well as overall metabolic health. Um, and help answer any questions about that kind of stuff because I think it can be important with knowing when to supplement with an amino acid supplement or a protein shake or that kind of thing, and when to more use real food. And I'm gonna tell you that I'm an err on the side of real food whenever possible, but I also know that there are times when that's when people struggle. And looking over the food logs yesterday and today, there are still people who are struggling with getting in enough protein. And I just want to make sure that we have other options. So, um, if you can put in the chat who participated in skipping dinner once last week and once the week before. I know Matt did. It looked like, okay, Debbie did. Jennifer did. Jean did not. That's okay, Jean. Don't worry about it. Um, I'm pretty sure TJ did as well. I'm not sure if he's coming this morning, but when we talked before he went on vacation, that was his plan. So, did anyone have any issues with that came up that they wanted to talk about? How did you feel the next morning? Feel okay? Did anyone measure blood sugar or ketone production the morning after that skipped the dinner? I can tell you I did not measure mine last week at all because last week was insanity. 15 to 40 for ketones. Okay, good. If you're not sure, in your app, there's a place where I usually write that stuff down when I am recording a meal. Um, where, and you can also do this on the computer. So if I go to the plus button and I hit lifestyle entry, there at the very end, there's a section for notes, and you can write that in there, and it shows up as something that you've logged for the day. You can also, under where the scale is, if you're measuring your blood sugar, you can add that as a measurement and put it in every day. So, okay, Debbie, no problem. So you might see times when you're doing that where everything shifts really rapidly. And you might see times where it's not as high as you would have expected, or it's not as low as you would have expected. And one of the things that I can tell you is that part of it will be based on your stress level. So last week while I was in California with my son's swim meet, and managing other people, the amount of stress I was under, even though I wasn't eating differently, my body surprisingly didn't want to produce ketones at all. And I can kind of smell it. So like I don't have to test all the time, but I know that I was, and I'm pretty sure I was not in ketosis at all last week. Um, and even this morning, I'm pretty sure I was not. So we'll see how I am after a workout and go from there. I had to order more test strips too, so I don't know exactly what it is, but those got ordered today, and hopefully they'll be here by Saturday. So let's talk a little bit about amino acids, protein shakes, that kind of stuff. And talk about how other ways that we can support while, especially if you're thinking about doing the getting up to a 3-day fast over the next 6 weeks, or even a full 1-day fast, because there are definite benefits to that. But obviously, again, not everyone will tolerate that 100% of the time. So if you're underweight, we're not doing a full day fast. We are focused on really restoring nutrition. But this conversation about amino acids may also help with that. So there was some research published back in 2009. It was research done in combination with the Navy and the Army, where they looked at amino acid supplementation in burn victims and bombing victims, and also people who had to be on bed rest for prolonged periods of time because of injuries. And what they found was that if they could give them the right dose of amino acids, they could preserve muscle mass. So they wouldn't necessarily build muscle mass, but they could preserve muscle mass. And in this study, what they found the perfect dosing was over a 28-day period was that they were giving people essential amino acids, and the total dose specifically of L-leucine, the amino acid L-leucine, was that they were getting about 2 grams 5 times a day. So I looked up a bunch of different amino acid supplements. A couple of them say proprietary blend, and you have no idea what's in them. One of the brands that falls into that is the Perfect Aminos brand. So everyone on TikTok Shop right now is selling that brand. Everyone's trying to get you to buy it. It's a proprietary blend. You don't know if it's in the right ratios for what you need to preserve muscle mass, or to build muscle mass. And so I'm not sure it's the best one. However, the other ones that say exactly what they have in them, the pure encapsulations and the thorn ones, which a lot of people, balloons, hello. A lot of people don't like either one of those brands because one of them's owned by Nestle now and one of them is owned by Pepsi. Um, they each have 1.3 grams of leucine in them, in their capsules. So you would still have to take a lot of those essential aminos to get to the 2 grams 5 times a day. But remember, that study was based on complete bed rest or burn victims or bombing victims. You don't need 2 grams 5 times a day to make a difference. A study published in 2025 I think it was in February. It was a systemic review when people were doing resistance training. The study showed that doses of L-leucine that were between 1 and 3 grams a day with regular strength training, even if they were only lifting something like 2 to 5 pound weights, because the age groups that they had were people who were aged 40 to age 80. Even with 2 to 5 pound weights, resistance training every day with 1 to 3 grams of leucine helped build muscle. Okay. And then let's talk a little bit about our meals. And I looked at this from a couple of different perspectives. There are several religions where your meat shouldn't be eaten with anything else. So it should be eaten separately. So like if you get a steak, your steak should be eaten and then you would get served like your vegetables, your bread, your dairy, whatever, but it wouldn't be served with meat. And I've often wondered, like, what did they know that we don't know? Because in the research, it shows that if you're eating protein, steak, chicken, fish, pork, whatever it happens to be, if you eat that portion by itself, separate from the rest of the meal, you're actually going to absorb 30 to 40% more of the protein from it. So when we talk about a protein source, is it better to eat it separate? Maybe. But it's also not convenient, right? Like pasta bolognese with a meat sauce is delicious. Who wants to eat the meat on its own and then the sauce? Like that's not fun. Um, but it's just something to consider when you're meal prepping. Same study showed that people who drank a protein shake away from their meal prior to exercise, and specifically prior to exercise, were more likely to have gains from the protein shake than eating a meal that had a steak, a sweet potato, and green beans. People who supplemented with amino acids saw even more benefit. So when we're talking about what do we supplement versus what do we eat, if you are someone who is having trouble getting in enough protein, and I should say too, the study looked at the differences between whey protein, pea protein, and soy protein. Whey protein beat them all. Like it was hands down beat them all. That they didn't look at like now there's like hydrolyzed beef proteins, protein powders. They did not look at that, but they looked at the others, and the whey protein just hands down was better. Um, when you're looking at what do I do to make changes, because I know I'm not getting enough protein, and I know I want to preserve the muscle mass I have, or I'm going to start doing light strength training. I'm going to purposefully do 10 repetitions of sit to stand every time I get up from a chair. I'm going to purposely walk up and down stairs 5 or 6 times. I'm going to make sure I do countertop push-ups every day. I'm going to use 2-pound weights, and it doesn't have to be a 2-pound weight. This cup has 16 ounces of water in it. That's a pound. So you don't have to go buy weights. You can find things around your house that have a weight to them that you can then do different things with. Like without a lid on this, I wouldn't exactly do bicep curls, but you get the point. It could be a water bottle, it could be even something as simple as like you're unloading the dishwasher and you do with like 3 or 4 of the plates in your hand, a little bit of bicep curls. Like, how can you make things into more exercise? So, if you've been with me long enough or you've seen my content, you know that like drinking a protein shake, part of the reason you don't absorb as much of it as you would if you ate a steak by itself is because you don't engage chewing. And so your body doesn't have to break down anything that's there in the same manner, and it doesn't recognize always how to use that protein. And then for some people, those protein powders cause some GI distress. When would you use amino acid capsules instead? If you were trying to stay fairly low calorie, the capsules would be a better option. Um, before you go work out, the capsules are a great option. So if you took them before you left the house and you were going to the gym, that would give your body time to start absorbing them and using them before you did that. Uh, at the end of the day, before you went to bed, if you know it's a day where you didn't get enough protein, those would all be times where you could use an amino acid supplement or a protein shake. If you're going to use a protein shake, remember that you want to mimic the action of chewing so that your body understands that it's something it needs to break down and absorb. Okay. Um, the other thing they looked at for L-leucine was recovery time. Recovery times improved when people used L-leucine, just for whatever that's worth. When we talk about other amino acids, I've been doing some targeted amino acid therapy with some of my clients. And one of the ones that I wanted to talk about because it kind of goes hand in hand with L-leucine and trying to have better body composition. So trying to have more lean mass, less body fat is L-carnitine. L-carnitine has been shown to help improve fat burning when you are exercising, not at rest, but when you're exercising. So again, if you're using L-carnitine to go before a workout, then you may get more fat burning during that workout. One of the other things that they are looking at it for is improving brain health overall in patients with Alzheimer's and dementia. But there are also some studies that have been published in the last 3 years that show that L-carnitine can help with symptoms of ADHD. So L-carnitine is one that I have been using with those people who are saying, I just have racing, I can't shut my brain down. I go from thing to thing. I never finish anything. And I don't know how to fix it. And I don't want to be on something like Vyvanse or Ritalin or that kind of thing. So L-carnitine can be something that is used pretty easily. It's not an essential amino acid, so you're not going to find it in those supplements. You might have to get it separately. It's also not something you have to take. It's just something that you might use if you notice that you're having trouble with like racing thoughts or focusing on a task or a project. It, for most people, can be helpful on day one. You would take the capsule and open it, put it under the tongue, and you would hold it there for about 90 seconds and then rinse your mouth with water. It's going to be a little bit bitter, but it works. Um, and the effect of the focus usually lasts for about 2.5 to 3 hours. So it's another amino acid that you can use, particularly if you feel like you have, I mean, if you have somebody in your family with dementia or Alzheimer's, it might be good for you. If you have issues with, I feel like I can't focus, it could be a good one. Another common one that I've been using to help people actually sleep better, and I've been doing this by way of having them take their collagen supplement at night, is glycine. Glycine actually has properties in it that make you tired. So if you're taking your collagen supplement at night, you're having an energy crash about 4 hours later, or sorry, if you're taking it in the morning and you're having an energy crash about 4 hours later, you might try switching it to nighttime because it would help you get a deeper sleep for a longer period of time. And then a lot of people have been asking for, like, if I don't want to take a GLP-1, how do I stop the food noise questions? And one of the ones that we've been looking at for that is taurine. It helps the brain be a little bit calmer. As a other side effect, taurine is also good for heart health. Um, and supposedly it helps with vision, but I can't find like solid studies on that. So that is another one that you can use for general overall health. Now, again, taurine is not one of the ones that's an essential amino acid, so you would have to get it as probably an individual. The 9 essentials that you cannot make in your body from any of your food, tryptophan, you can eat tryptophan in like things like turkey and chicken. It's highest in turkey. Valine, threonine, phenylalanine, methionine, L-lysine, L-leucine, isoleucine, and L-histidine. So those are all ones that you have to ingest. For people with MCAS, the L-histidine can be a huge game changer for people struggling with MCAS. So if that's something that you want to kind of play with, you feel like you have a lot of inflammation, you want to lower the inflammation, L-histidine is a great one. It can also, the L-histidine can help your body bind iron better so that you have more energy. Jennifer's asking, how long do you need to wait to eat veggies after you eat your meat? In most cultures where they eat the meat separately, it usually ends up being 15 to 20 minutes. So again, like it extends the meal time. And I can tell you, I don't have an extra 15 to 20 minutes at mealtime most days. It's just not possible. Especially now that school starts next week for the boys and practice. Um, I think 2 nights a week, Alex will have practice at 5:30 and he won't be done until 7:30, and 8:30 would just be way too late to eat dinner by the time he's done showering and all that stuff. So I try and get him fed beforehand, which means dinner goes on the table at 4. And we don't have 2 hours to sit and eat a meal then. It's just not possible. So he does get a protein shake post workout with usually a banana or an apple. But lately he has been blending the protein powder into mixed berries that are frozen and eating it like it's ice cream. So there's that too. But if you are high histamine, the L-histidine is one that we can also get separate on its own and increase just that supplement. Or if you're having trouble with iron absorption and binding iron, so if we've talked about on your blood work your TIBC number, then it's too high. That means that you might have enough iron, but you're not able to bind it. That L-histidine can help with that. What other questions do you guys have about that? So the other thing I will like reiterate here, if you're over the age of 30, you need to be doing strength training, period. If you aren't doing strength training, so your muscle is your most insulin sensitive tissue in your body. Your muscle is your glucose sponge. It soaks up all the excess blood sugar, which then keeps your insulin lower. Diabetes is an insulin resistance problem, right? So if we have a problem managing our blood sugar, it may be that we don't have enough lean muscle mass to absorb what we're putting out. If you can improve your lean muscle mass, you can improve your blood sugar, which improves insulin, which improves heart health, which improves brain health, which improves, like, it just is a cascade. And I know a lot of people are like, well, I don't have time to exercise. Again, it doesn't have to be formal, go to the gym exercise. It can literally be, I'm sitting in this chair. Instead of just getting up and moving on, I'm going to do this 10 times, trying not to use my hands for help or support. And really focusing on different angles of my knees when I'm doing that. So I put my feet out a little bit farther each 3 reps. And it makes it a little harder to get out of the chair. I have to engage different muscles in order to do that. It can be when you're doing the dishes, you're focused on, okay, I'm going to put a few more in my hand and just do a little bit of bicep curls. I have my porch here has a step to step up onto it from the grass. There's a spider right there. Let's go to the step instead. Instead of just stepping up the step and stepping into the house, I'm doing 10 step ups on each side. So it doesn't have to be formal exercise. It just needs to be the intention behind it. The only time I would say you need like formal, let's go do something. After each meal, you need to move for 10 minutes. And part of that is because we're trying to get the muscle to absorb some of the sugar that your body's creating from the food. I've been getting a lot of questions on can I go work out fasted? No, especially if you work out in the morning. You need something. If that something is just going to be a protein shake, fine, but it has to be something. And the reason it needs to be something is because the same process that made it so I wasn't burning ketones last week, the stress, is the same process that happens when you go to the gym fasted. So Jennifer, you're not completely fasted because you've eaten breakfast and lunch when you work out after dinner or when you work out in the evening. So, but if you're that person who, like, say, so this week and next week, the goal is to pick a day where you can skip lunch and dinner, right? So the last 2 weeks were skip dinner. This week and next week is can you skip lunch and dinner? If you eat breakfast, like this morning, my breakfast was 890 calories. Um, so even when I go work out at lunch, I have calories in me. I'm not completely fasted. I have energy, and even I've tested this to see before my workouts, where my blood sugar is compared to after my workouts. And my blood sugar is a little bit higher for my workouts. So I know that I'm not completely fasted. And I know that my body is capable of producing more blood sugar for energy. But if you're the person like, so starting next week, the outdoor pool closes this week, so I no longer will be swimming in the middle of the day. So starting next week, I have to go to the time that is in the morning. So I'm gonna need to eat before I go swim, which means I have to get up at 4 in order to have food to be in the pool by 5:30. So if I were to just go do that swim fasted, what ends up happening is my body normal is as you're waking up, your body produces cortisol and it peaks about 30 minutes after you wake up, and then it starts slowly declining throughout the day so that your body can start producing melatonin, right? Well, if you go work out fasted, what ends up happening, sorry, it's really cold over there in the shade. It's only 52 degrees out here today. Um, if you go work out fasted, your body has to produce more cortisol to get your liver to release glucagon so that your body will release blood sugar. And then in response to that blood sugar, anything you don't soak up, your body has to release insulin. But you've spiked your cortisol at the wrong time of day because you didn't eat. You didn't give your body any energy. And particularly, so if you're trying to build muscle, again, if you're like, I want to build muscle, it takes not only amino acids to build muscle, but it takes calories. So if you're undernourished and trying to build muscle, you're really going to struggle, and you'll probably end up depositing more fat on your body because you're producing more cortisol. Does that make sense? Yes, Miss Jennifer.
So I understand that. I guess what I was kind of asking is when you were talking about moving 10 minutes after you eat,
Yeah.
if I get home from work and I go and work out, say I do lift weights, do strength training, then I go and I cook dinner and I eat, is that workout still kind of going to help burn those calories that I eat, or since it was, not long before?
A little, but not to the same effect as going for like a simple 10-minute walk after dinner. Like there's the research on that is pretty clear. Like the people with the best metabolism go for what we call a digestion walk. So, but that you're working out, like if, and it also depends on how long it takes you to make dinner, right? So, if I'm making something simple, like what do I make that's simple? Tacos. And that takes just time to have like one of the boys brown taco meat if they're here. If I have to do it, it takes longer. And then I usually make some shells for the boys. Then I can have that meal on the table within 20 minutes. But then the time it takes to eat, how much has my body stopped burning by the time I'm done eating? And I'm a kind of slow eater. Like this morning, it took me 45 minutes to eat my breakfast. So I wouldn't get the same benefits as like my friend Noah, who I'm not even sure he tastes his food. He inhales it so quickly because I eat slower. So then it's like it's been an hour between the time I've done any movement. Well, and again, like if I go to the gym and then I drive the 15 minutes home, and then it takes me 20 minutes to make a meal, and then it takes me 45 minutes to eat it, then I'm like an hour and a half out from my workout, as opposed to like food was on the table when I walked in the door. Then I'm the cook. No one else in my family really cooks, so it's not often that I would have a meal that was made for me when I walked in the door. So moving after is also important. And again, it doesn't have to be big. 10-minute walk is good enough. The trash guy just got here and he knocked over my trash can and spilled the trash all over the sidewalk. Awful. Uh, Jean's asking if there's a recording. There is a recording. Um, so the movement piece after a meal is pretty important. And again, it doesn't have to be like you don't have to go to the gym again. It's just a like, can you go for a 10-minute walk? Can you, like in the winter months, we've had a couple of days where it's like, I'm not going outside. It's 17. Or I had a day where it was minus 17. It was like, okay, I'm just gonna walk up and down the stairs in my house as opposed to going for a walk outside. Just that movement piece after each meal can be life-changing for people. Any other questions about that? So to kind of recap, if you're thinking, I can't get enough protein, I want to use a protein shake, or I want to use amino acid supplements. On their own, for the protein shake or the amino acid supplements is going to be better. The research shows that the amino acid supplements are better than the protein shake. The protein shake is better than a mixed meal. So if you have your protein, your fruit, and your veggies and your starch all on the same plate. Before a workout where you're doing some resistance training is the best time to use those. Or if you're like, I just didn't get enough protein in today, right before you go to bed. That way your body can take those and repair. It won't build muscle, but it'll help do repair work for you. And if you're struggling with like ADD, ADHD, the L-carnitine, if you're struggling a lot with food noise, taurine, can be a great help. If you have heart issues, the taurine can be a great help too. L-carnitine and taurine are not essential amino acids. You can get them and make them from other things. But the essential amino acids you have to ingest. Okay. Who's up for skipping one day where you skip lunch and dinner this week? TJ's got it. Matt's got it. Yeah, Jennifer, you can get the single amino acids or you can do the essential aminos and get a group of them. The L-carnitine and L-taurine, those will come as single amino acids. Um, can you in the private chat tell me what your current weight is? And I'll tell you that. The brands I tend to like best are Solaray, Pure Encapsulations, and the Nature Valley one is like a brown bottle with a has a little leaf on the label. The Solaray and Nature Valley one you can pick up sometimes even at a local Target. Okay. If you're like, I want to build muscle and I want to burn fat in my workout, get the L-carnitine and take the essential amino acid because it has the L-leucine in it. And that'll help. Okay. All right. Um, if you have questions about whether or not you should try and skip one meal or two this week, let me know. And we can make that decision together. Uh, if you are if you struggled with skipping one meal, definitely don't skip two, but let's talk about that as well. Okay. Okay. All right. I hope you guys have a fantastic week and I will chat with you all soon. Have a great day.